So this is our professional development session on course building through alignment, or I like to refer to it as beginning with the end in mind, which is from Wiggins People Tie, Backwards Design. So we'll do just a little bit as far as the WebEx tool. Again, it's something that we are working with and trying to become very familiar with, and that said, it's a little bit, the one that we are using is a little bit different from what you will be using with your classes. So when you go into WebEx, there's a bunch of different options that are available to you. You can use it for your class, you would use the Training Center one, or in a meeting for small groups. This one is the Event Center that we are using so that we can record and also get access to know who's available in here. So within this, the Event Center focus one, there's Who's Who in WebEx Events, the moderator and host, which is Lady Marcella, and for those who are online, she will be communicating via the chat room with you. She is, in my perception, your own personal concierge for the session. So that's where you go for whatever questions, whatever comments you have, any of the, oh my gosh, what happened now type of things. Presenters are able to speak freely and can share the screen. So that is exactly what I am doing. And as participants, you can chat through the chat room, and if you want to speak, the host can unmute you. So that's how we're going to be doing it as we go through the session. So that's some basic WebEx information for where we are and what we're doing right now. So let's get back to our session on objectives, and I have objectives for you for that. So what we are going to be doing this morning is review the purpose of what objectives are. You're actually going to be writing an objective for a lesson or a module or a unit, just one objective. You're going to take a look at that objective and evaluate it, and then align that objective with assessments and then content. And then we'll be talking just a little bit about our blueprint format and how that all fits in there. So here's a question, and I'm going to invite you to speak up and respond before I go into what I have up here. Why do we have objectives? And I'm open for anybody to speak up.
Well, they give students an idea of what they're trying to do with the material?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And hoping that we do make it, as one of mine says on here, transparent, available to the students so that they recognize that what we are doing has something to do with what they're supposed to be getting out of it. Are you set up okay?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. So any other comments or questions about why we have and use objectives?
What do you say just parameters around, okay, what am I doing today? What is my focus?
Yeah, gives us a direction for where we're going. We're going to talk about that in several places throughout this, because the document that we use, we refer to as a blueprint, which is a plan for building a course, but we also reference in terms of directions and a map and how to get from point A to point B. So it gives us a destination, it gives us the guide. It also, as you've indicated, that it identifies the components that are important ones and let our students know that those are important components in it, and it gives transparency to the whole process, so that the idea being if the students have an idea, an understanding of where we are going and what we're going to do to get there, it will be more of a part of it. Yeah, thank you. So we're going to be talking about the idea of alignment, and with regards to backwards design, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in just a little bit. But when you think about it in terms of the backward design, the first step in it is the learning objectives. We have to start with the objectives. So what is it I want students to know how to do when they leave this module? And consequently, our objectives in our module are always written from the student perspective, always start with, by the end of this module, unit, lesson, however you phrase it, my students will. So what I'm going to ask you to do now is go to the Padlet page, and if you've already set up a page up there, and I will get over there in just a moment, you will then go into where you have put your name at the top and think about one lesson or module or week in what you're doing and write one objective for that module. So I am going to go to that. So the first one with my name gives us our basic directions. Click on the pink circle and write your name where it says title, and then go ahead and write one objective in there for whatever you have, whatever course or lesson or content area you want to do, or you can make one up. That's fine. The link to Blooms we'll get to in just a little bit. Well, we'll get back in there, and if you can go ahead and work through it. You have the link, Daniel? Yeah. Right. So a little bit about learning objectives. As they're written, they need to be student-centered, and they're designed to break down the task and into smaller components. And I'm going to show you in just a little bit how they would then link back to the course level objectives. So they should definitely be smaller pieces of that course level objectives. And they should specify a cognitive process, of course, action verbs, and the measurable. One of the formats that you use, or one of the acronym actually is what it is for objectives, which has a little bit more to it than what we normally use, but it still is a great way to kind of get started. The SMART acronym, that the objective should be specific, should be measurable, which we definitely use, should be attainable, of course, and relevant to what they're doing. The time-based piece we don't generally put into it, but you will see objectives written with that time-based piece. So let's go back and take a look, and I've got the Blooms, and I'll show you that when we get on there, when we go back into the web browser. But the Blooms taxonomy verbs, think about that list and think about the verbs you have. Is what you've put in there observable and measurable? So we'll go back to the Padlet and take another look. Is your verb observable and measurable? Mary has infer. Mary, is that observable for you?
Okay, so I'm actually very happy that Judy asked me this question, because I know I have all the background for this, but I don't know how much of that put into my objective. So this is for a presentation, and we're reading from our text, which is a novel, and from those narrative and structural elements in the text, we're supposed to, I'm a student in this class, so we're supposed to kind of infer what the author wants to say by means of plot, events, the tone that he uses, which in this case is very ironic, the agency he's showing in his characters, and then any references he makes to external or internal elements. So all of these aspects are in the text. So by taking a look at these aspects, I'm supposed to kind of know what the author wants to say, and it's where the inference part of it comes into place. So I think it is definitely observable, because I will be speaking about these inferences. And I think it is measurable in terms that I have X number of slides where I will be using in my presentation. So the question is, do I need to say this when I write my objectives?
No, we're going to be coming to that, because
okay.
what you're doing is taking care of the next step, and then you will see how it all fits together.
Okay.
Thinking about the assessments, and so then the question you ask yourself is, what kind of tasks will reveal whether or not the students have achieved the learning objective I have identified. So let's go back into the Padlet and add an assessment underneath your objective. And then once we've done that, we'll talk about how to know if that objective, how that assessment accomplishes the objective. So when we're looking at those assessments, the things is the evidence. Does that assessment give me the evidence? And it could be the evidence of the level of competence that you're looking for. Does it guide, does your feedback then to them guide their student practice? Does it help them move in the direction you want them to go? And does it improve the quality of their work? And then the real driving question is it an assessment that's going to drive your teaching practice? So we will come back into that, because that's going to take us right to the third piece, where we start thinking about the instructional strategies. What kind of activities in and out of the classroom setting will reinforce your learning objectives and prepare students for their assessment? So again, we're doing backwards design. What is it we want them to accomplish? What's going to provide us the evidence of that accomplishment? Therefore, guiding your teaching, what do I have to do in order to get that information from them? And here is where I will take us to the Wiggins People Tie. This is a quote from Understanding by Design. When you start with the end, the desired results, and then that derives the curriculum from the evidence of learning, the performances that are called for by the standard and the teaching that are needed to equip students to perform. And that book is an extremely easy one to read and to work through, and it's just every page is chock full of information. And even though it's a '98 edition, it's the second edition that they put out on it, and it is so thorough and so effective. So we're going to go back to the Padlet and think about what you wrote as your assessments, and then how that creates your instructional strategies. You've you've got your objective, you've got your assessment, and then go underneath there and add in what teaching you're going to do, how you're going to accomplish that with them. Okay, so tell me how that works for you.
It just seems like the continuum is just becoming more, increasing specificity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
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 That helps me frame it a little
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah.
For the one I put with the students in the discussion forum, they get a chance to explore the perspectives in a less stressful and collaborative environment before they get tested independently, so they can get peer checks done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so then that also brings in the concept of peer review, as well as getting student feedback, getting feedback from peers before you move into, yeah.
I think it increases engagement. I'm sure there's something in the literature about that.
Yeah, yes, absolutely, absolutely, and that is part of the intent. I've got it down in here. Is that the student engagement is part of what we're looking for. So, what's the teaching that happens to get them to that evidence?
Do you want us to add it into the Padlet or just talk about it?
We can, well, yours is going all the way down, but that's okay. Yeah, we can add it in, but let's talk about it as well. So we don't get, yeah.
I'm very proud of you. I like using real-world examples of providing current events that can, in the module, that can link back to certain perspectives with an explanation of how the definition of that perspective works with the current event.
Yeah, yeah. And in your field, I mean, there's something every day that happens that can be applied.
Yes.
Yeah, with both of you. All right, so let's go back and look and see how we are doing on this. Here we go. Instructional strategies should be designed to engage the students, and they would need to be, you want them engaged in the content, certainly, engaged with each other, which you both have added into yours, and engaged with you, because you're doing the presentation. There's if you're doing it in a discussion, there will be some feedback in that way too. So in student engagement, as we've heard in several different sessions, student engagement is what causes the learning. And your objective may indicate a specific type of a strategy. And I've got a link here, and I did not open that one up, so we'll just have a little bit of a discussion about that. But many times your objective is going to determine how what format you're going to use. Clearly, if you've got discuss in an objective, which is an absolutely fine objective, that will lead us to a discussion board of some sort. And if you're in a face-to-face class, there would be an interaction there. But online is fine too with the discussion board. But there's a whole lot of other ones as well. And often you will find yourself combining various types of strategies in that. And this Carnegie Mellon page is also in the module, yes. So now we're going to talk about alignment, which is kind of where we've been leading this whole conversation today. And so alignment within the modules, and I usually do it this way, across the modules and back up to the course level objective, gets the students' focus on what the intended learning is and gives them the opportunity to develop their skills and work on their knowledge base in the content area. And it takes them beyond what do I have to do to get the grade on it to how is this also affecting my learning? That may not be what comes into their mind, but by showing them that alignment is how we accomplish that. So that takes us then into what I'm referring to as the big picture, the whole blueprint idea. And I've got an example on the next one, but the blueprint provides us with a foundation for course development and gives us a clearly defined and laid out roadmap for teaching and for learning. Gives us a smooth ride through the course, and that's a reference to the term alignment, because often we think about alignment in reference to a car, and if it's out of alignment, it does not give us a smooth ride. A course that is in alignment is going to really flow very easily through the course and keeps us moving in the direction we need to go without those diversions. And it's the way we have it set up, it can be used at any point in the building process. Ideally, you develop it, you start it out before you actually start putting the course into place in your Canvas. If you've got it out on paper, then you see where things line up, and you see where there's kind of a bump in the road that you want to move things around and move through. So you can use a blueprint as you're revising a course, or as you're building a course, wherever you are in the process. And know that building a blueprint is an evolving process. It changes as you go through, and that's absolutely fine. That is part of the process in there. So this is a specific example, and I imagine that it's a little difficult to read, but this is an example directly from the workshop. This is the blueprint for the workshop, and I did the screenshot of the first 3 modules just so that you can see where you've been and where you are moving in that. And this blueprint is a document that we have developed in here, although as you read the literature, you will see term reference to curriculum mapping, to course mapping, some sort of many researchers look at ways of visualizing what you're doing in your course. And so this is the one that we use in here, and as we work with you both in the workshop and through the e-design process, we will work with you on developing that. So when you see the numbers in the parentheses after each item, that's the reference to that's the alignment piece. So under module objectives, it shows how each of those module objectives lines up to the course objectives. That's what CO is. So when you go back and look at, I didn't want to clog up the page any more than it already was, but when you look at the blueprint for the workshop, which is on the welcome page, you will be able to see how it links to the course level objective, which the course objectives that actually each one of those modules link to. But then when you go across into assessments, you will see in the item in the parentheses, the first number references which module it is, and the second number references which objective within that module. So that let's look at the one for module 3, which is where we are right now. And the excuse me, discussion board objectives connect to the discussion board under assessments that you participate in within module 3 helps. It correlates to identifying the objectives, identifying the structure for the unit objectives, and developing the unit objectives, because you're discussing with the other people in the module, in the workshop, what things you have developed in there. And then the same thing is true under lesson content. The first number in the parentheses refers to the module number, and the numbers after that refer to which module level objectives are being accomplished with that content. So you can see that in order to have you be able to complete that blueprint worksheet, do like 2 or 3 modules of objectives within that blueprint worksheet, you would have to, before you can do that, you would have to have read what we have in the module on writing objectives, looked at the videos that are in there. We've given you the link to Bloom's taxonomy, which, as I say, I don't leave home without it. It's always right next to me wherever I am. And looked at the various readings, the various videos, and the things that are within the module in order to be able to accomplish, to do the assessments, which give us the evidence that you have actually accomplished those modules, those objectives within the module. And so that then, because of the fact that we link them back up to the course level objectives, then we can clearly say within this and within whatever course you're working on that you have accomplished by the end of the course, because you will see that the course level objectives appear in reference links to them appear within each module. So by the end of the course, you will have done enough of those smaller components of the module objectives to be able to say, yes, you have effectively accomplished the course level objectives. Questions or comments about this?
I think it's a great blueprint, but I'm just curious, I know you probably don't know the answer, but how many students actually, okay, the one, :1, this is module 1, objective 1, or is it really just more of a guideline for educators? Than your experience? Excellent question.
It truly is a guideline for us as we're going through and building the course. And what we recommend is putting it into your course the same way it's in the workshop under that welcome where it talks about the blueprint.
Right.
And the narrative, the wording that we put in there is such that should there be a question, and we don't usually see it at this level, it doesn't actually come to us. It may be in their heads, but we don't actually hear it usually, about why would I be doing this? That provides the answer. And there is a little bit of an instruction as to what the coding is, but it's, it isn't anything that's obvious. It has to be, built and worked into it. But we suggest making the blueprint visible to the students. And we have, that said, we have many instructors that prefer not to, but and that's fine. That's strictly as a person.
It might help with policy issues, like if you said that. Well, go back to the blueprint.
That's right. Now then, here's where the key is. Once you have built your course and have taught it and make whatever revisions are in there, should you be ready then to take it to Quality Matters, having this document in there is an extremely valuable piece of it, because that shows the reviewers exactly how it's lined up, and that is one of the really strong pieces. The alignment pieces within the Quality Matters rubric and the standards that are listed in there are all at higher level standards within the Quality Matters thing. So I know that's down the road, but it is it provides a really valuable, and it's tedious to create, in the workshop, we're only asking you to create 3 modules, but we often hear at the end of it, you know, that yes, it takes time, but once it's done, then it's a really effective piece to have. Yeah, good question. Any other comments or questions? All right. So, and I'm not going to ask you to go back into your Padlet to reference yours because you don't have your course level objectives with you to be able to connect them. But you can see how that, you know, you have created what you did in the Padlet, your objective, your assessment, and your content, so that they do line up, and that's a clear way of doing that. A word on course level objectives. For the most part, we don't have any say in those. They are handed down to us. And I will tell you that I have seen a few come through here that are not effectively written. In other words, there's almost always an objective, if not more than one, in those course level objectives that says the students will understand this, and this. And that is neither measurable nor observable. But that's not anything that we usually can control. If you're building your whole course from scratch, you might, and I've worked with a few people that do, but for the most part, the course level objectives are what we get, and then we work from that. Okay. That said, we are going to talk about the things that are coming up. Next week is, we'll be talking about effective use of discussion boards in an online course and how they can really be a valuable component in that course. The 23rd, we have a really nice session set up for you for teamwork and collaboration, and we've brought in an instructor who has done this in an amazing manner, and as far as combining, Mary, help me out on describing this. And until she jumps in, I'll go ahead and say that. Then the following.
Am I unmuted? Yes.
Nope. You're good.
Oh, okay. So the Office of Interprofessional Education brings together into the medical care or health care providing experience schools of medicine, nursing, social work, and pharmacy. So students come together and create teams from all these disciplines and try to overcome the many challenges and adopt a perspective that includes all of them. So that's why it's called interprofessional, because students learn from, with, and about each other's discipline. So we're very excited. This faculty member is actually teaching this class. She has been teaching it for about a couple years now, and she basically wants to share with us how her experience has been and how her students have responded to the many challenges that this kind of work together entails.
Yeah, it's Dr. Boundas, and she's just done an amazing job with that. So we've invited her to come in and share with us. And then the following week is another one that Mary has put together about a panel of instructors. We're going to talk about their experiences during peer review. Do you want to say anything else about that, Mary?
Oh, absolutely. As a language teacher, I grew I really liked resubmissions, and that's how you improve your writing. So peer review is a great form to have an extra layer of input into your writing. But the beautiful thing about it is that your students actually learn to be critical with you. So it is another great example of student engagement through something that may not come to them easily, but that requires you to be there with them.
Yeah.
So challenging, yet very, very rewarding.
All right, excellent. Thank you, thank you. So we have a nice lineup coming, and so with that, I'm going to thank you for joining us. And these are some of the references that I used, and you will receive, when you receive your a follow-up note from this, the reference list and all of the links that we had. And probably most of them you're familiar with and have used, but we will be sending that out with you as well. So I appreciate you joining us. Thank you.
Thank you.